Cool. But all right. I guess we'll move on to our last topic. Our finale, our raison d'être. So dude, again, this is something you brought up. But you finished Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
I did. Well,
Yeah.
so basically, the story was I was like, you know what, we could do this episode as a bit of a review, kind of discussion back and forth, something like that. Then I was like, wait a minute, I remember seeing something about Resident Evil 7 on the channel. I was like, oh yeah, Chris did a review on it. So I did listen to the entire review, by the way. So I
Oh,
went
thank
back and
you.
yeah, I went back and listened to it because I didn't want to see what you thought about it after I finished. Well, I didn't. Here's the spoiler: I didn't finish the game.
Yeah.
Because I'm more in the state now as I am to basically play games to the point where I know I've taken enough from it. And I did get quite far into it. I got 3 quarters and I watched the rest of the stuff on YouTube and everything else.
Right.
Um, I had very mixed reception on this game. Very mixed reception because while it's not as amazing as reviews made it out to be, and I mean, like, I'm citing more stuff like Polygon and a couple of other outlets that gave it like nines and eights and stuff like that. I would say it's a 7, maybe 6.5 because it's good. That's where I leave it at. It's a good starting point, but there's just like when you look at it, it's not really like it's not changed the wheel. Sorry, changed the wheel. It's not invented the wheel of horror, but at the same
Hmm.
time, it's not done enough to like really say put like a staple down. It's like yeah, we're here to make the horror genre great again in a Donald Trump style kind of thing. It's just it's kind of just like a little bit like I was left wanting a bit more from Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. I like the name. I thought it was a good starting point to have with a name. They
Yeah.
fused the Japanese name onto the actual English name and put it out as Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. But there were just things about it where I was like, actually, no, do you know what? I'll let you start off. Go on, continue. I'll let you take this for a second because you are my Resident Evil avocado.
What did I think of RE7? Well, my review that was kind of like my fresh thoughts. So I would definitely I might contradict myself here because it's been a while. I finished this game in January and I played the DLC. I guess I could talk about that a little bit, but no, dude. Overall, I did enjoy it. I thought Resident Evil 7 was a good game. I thought it was well made for what it was. I was very happy to see it go back to its original. Well, when I say its roots, I mean, being more horror oriented, things like that. Not like an action summer blockbuster that Resident Evil 6 was, you know what I mean, or something like
Mhm.
that. I know Revelations 1 and 2 tried their hand at making it back to its roots, but I don't know, I always felt like there's something off about those games. It still felt
Mhm.
very almost arcadey, if that makes sense, like an arcade actiony game. RE7 really just like you're in this derelict mansion, you're running around, you're doing all this stuff, you're playing as this like everyday man. Uh, you know, there is a lot of things that I don't know if I mentioned this in the review. By the way, let me just put this out here. If I'm gonna try not to say spoilers, but if I accidentally say spoilers, I just want to warn you guys right now. It'll be pertinent to the game, but I'll try not to spoil it. So please be cautious going forward. But there's like moments in the game where like, and this is definitely a spoiler, but like, do you remember when Ethan lost his hand? Dude, I don't know about you, but if I fucking lost my hand, I would not be as calm as that guy was. Like he fucking loses his hand, he picks it up, and then like he gets a gun and he's like reloading one-handed. Dude, I would go in shock if my wife cut off my arm with a chainsaw. Like I don't know about you. So like stuff like that kind of
Mm.
felt weird. I feel like Capcom, like didn't really. I don't know. I felt like that was a very odd reaction for an everyday character to have. Um, but no, dude. Overall, I did dig it. I felt like it did have some. We discussed this off podcast, but I felt like it did have some pacing issues, especially near the end. The choice thing that you do in the game, like there's really no point into doing that. And I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to be like how in the original Resident Evil, remember, like you could save certain characters or whatever, and there's like a ton of
Mhm.
endings in the original game. But still, those felt very consequential, whereas these felt very inconsequential. Nothing really felt like it held weight, really. So that was kind of a fail. But dude, I think it's a good start. It's not a. I wouldn't say it's a great game. It's a good game, and I think that
Mhm.
they're definitely on the right path. I'd be very curious to see what RE8 does, like to see if maybe they could do something that expands upon this and perfects it a bit. The DLC was really fun. I definitely recommend it to you guys. There's actually a free DLC called Not a Hero that's coming out. I think this fall. Capcom delayed it. It was gonna be
Yeah, it was
this.
delayed.
Yeah, so that's gonna be cool. And the DLC, the paid DLC they've released, it was great. But my only issue with it was, dude, if you play it, you're like, this should have been in the game. This should have been an unlockable in the game. It did not feel like something that had to be like you spend money on it and you get it.
Hmm.
I enjoyed it, but I felt that. I felt like this should have been something that was included as an unlockable. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much my thoughts right now on the surface that I could think of. You, dude, you probably have better thoughts because you just beat the game, so you have like, well, played it,
Well, I didn't
whatever,
beat it. I
yeah,
didn't beat it. Here's a question I'll put to you. Do you
sure.
think it's too linear?
At near the end of the game, yes. I think when you're in the if you have no idea what the fuck you're doing in the baker's mansion, I think it's very non-linear because you can go anywhere in the house pretty much, except when you get locked doors. So in that case, it felt like classic Resident Evil. I think it starts to feel linear when I don't want to spoil anything, but you get there's a point in the game where you go, you're in a new location, and from that point forward, I would argue that's like the third act of the game if it was a movie. From that point forward, the game gets super linear. Like you know exactly where you're going, you know what to do, you know what you have to get. I mean, they don't tell you where to go, but you pretty much know where you're going. I mean, it's just the way the area is structured. And then even when you get to the next area. But honestly, I kind of liked it, dude, because it like at that point I had been not lost in the baker's house, but it just felt nice to know, okay, go there. It kind of felt like the end of everything. But no, I mean that's I think yeah, I think that would be my answer, I guess.
Right. So, I mean, like, I took some positives away from it. I took a lot more negatives from it because I thought overall it was too linear. And linear is not a bad thing, but in the sense of where Resident Evil 7 is, canonically in the timeline 7, you kind of expect a game to keep modernizing and moving things. But like, you look at it, it's like weapons. It was like no upgrades on them. And it was like, right,
Oh
okay, I
yeah.
understand he's not a secret agent and stuff like that, but it removed all of that, the great upgrade mechanics they brought in RE4, 5, and it was just like it was kind of a bit tedious in that sense. Um, but like I said this to you as well off podcast, I think that this game really takes a hold of what Outlast did in the opening segment. And I think Outlast has been really underrated for what it's done in the horror genre. Because
Yeah.
like you look at the opening, yeah, he gets an anonymous message that sends him to a remote location. You have no weapons. You start off with a torch. When you go into the house, it kind of works like Outlast the angles, and it sets a good tone for it as well. Because I was like, "Oh, this is quite interesting," and I think like the combat's a bit sloppy as well. Because I feel like it's just like it's weird to move the controls around a little bit, and it's a bit clunky as well unnecessarily. But at the same time, Outlast had a better story because you had a purpose to be there. More of the purpose in the sense that you were a journalist investigating. Well, I feel like more relates a bit more to me, but you're a journalist investigating this kind of like strange activity that's going on there. And in the other sense, it's like, oh yeah, your wife who's been missing sent you a distress call, and at the same time, the story doesn't develop enough. It doesn't really have a good story that ties in with the Resident Evil universe until the end part of it. And over that course, it just fatigues itself telling the story of, yeah, oh yeah, I'm trying to do this and I'm doing that and I'm going like this. And it almost borderline goes on to fetch quests as well in the game. It's like,
RE7?
hey, yeah, it's like, hey, fetch quest, do this for a story and you drive the story a bit forward. It's like, right, okay. Because like, the thing is as well, look at RE7, the video cassette tapes, excellent. And that's where like some of the story is better told as well. But at the same time, you have like documents, you have journals, it has all the other gaming tropes where it's like, hey, we can tell you a bit more of the story if you want to know about it, and they don't do it enough. Do you it properly enough to where it's like, hey, this is really a bit more interesting story. They should have told the story of Clancy and the other people at the same time, and made it
Right.
quite an interesting story because their tapes are sporadic. How often do you get the tapes for them? You got the one that's from the
Ye-
demo that taught you the
yeah, in the
the
first
original
house.
stuff.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
and then
you get one
when's the
with
second tape?
Mia. Yeah, you get one with Mia in that like kind of it was
Not
that
Clancy.
room.
No, no.
Yeah, no, the
That's me as
Mia is the well, I
but
got
when
Mia the second time in that room that kind of looked like there's like a pool table or something.
Hmm.
And then the third tape is Clancy with like that weird birthday
But
thing.
there's
Yeah.
there's the problem. But then as well, take as well what you said about the DLC. Where's Clancy again in the DLC? And
Yeah.
that tape that's in the DLC is set before that third tape.
Yeah.
So
So they could yeah.
because Mia's tape didn't need to be in there. It could have been tapes 1 to 3 tell Clancy's story about what's going on. It gives Jack's son a bit more character development as well. And at the same time, it drives Clancy's forward to tape 3, and then it's like right, and you kind of get the idea of what happened with these other people out of there.
Yeah. No, I agree,
And
dude, I agree. Like this DLC should have been, especially since they're tapes. Like they should
yeah,
have been in the
and
game. It would have straightened the game a lot more.
and here's a better way. There's 2 tapes of Clancy on that DLC. You could have had 4 tapes in that game. None that needs to relate to Mia, because Mia was just the part where it tells you another part of how to progress the story forward. 4 tapes in that game, Clancy. So you play as Ethan, you play as Clancy. 2 characters, and they tell 2 good stories.
Yeah,
The
that
fourth, the third tape is great, by the way. That one where you were doing the I can't spoil it, but when you're in the third tape for Clancy, it's fantastic. It's really chilling. I was like, this is great. The VHS tapes were great, but I'm like, why is Mia's tape in there? And they're only doing it because Mia needs development and haven't done enough to develop her at that point because she just
yeah.
disappears.
Yeah. They
Can you see
I
where I'm
think
coming from? Like in that sense,
no. No, yeah, I think the tapes would have been a really cool like almost like a story like a way to like up the pacing, you know?
hmm.
Like when you're getting to a
Yeah,
certain point in Ethan's story, oh man, look, you find a tape. Dude, you know what it could have been, man? Do you remember, like in the classic Resident Evil games, how you'd find those diaries and stuff? And I know they're still in this game,
yeah,
but like, remember how you found them, and remember how chilling they were? Remember Itchy Tasty, like all that shit from like the first
yeah.
one? Man, if they would have done that in this game, but in the form of tapes, like more of those, you know? Because we got a couple of them, like the without giving too much spoilers away here, the tape with Clancy in with the birthday theme thing, dude. I think that's this game's Itchy Tasty, totally. Like that
Best
was
part.
like, yeah, it was fucked up what happens.
Best part. Undoubtedly, me and my brother got to a point we played it and we're like, this is the best segment in the entire game.
Yeah,
And
it's
it was
so
it was
great,
so a
man.
shame. It was so shameful because I'm not saying we make the game better. I'm not giving it like, better things, but I'm giving it criticism because at the same time as those 4 tapes that could have been the center of the game, you could have had
Yeah,
the supporting documents, like during documents you find, you could have found stuff from Clancy that could have helped guide this player through the rest of the mansion or whatever else. Do you get what I mean? It's that extra kind of
yeah,
like little idea when you think about it. The story would have been more interesting. Hey, I'm interested in Clancy because he's telling me what's going on here, but at the same time, I'm interested about Ethan's story because he will try to find Mia. So
yeah,
it gives it a bit more pungent purpose. Otherwise, the story was just fatiguing itself because it was tripping itself over. Hey, this happened. Hey, that happened. It was like, right, okay, I've seen enough here. Um, but it's like that because I thought the VHS tapes were one of the most valuable assets, and they kind of just didn't really fully potentially, like
which
get the full potential out of it.
dude, isn't it kind of weird, by the way? There's so many VHS tapes hanging out in the year 2017 because this game takes place this year. And there's a lot of fucking VHS tapes. Like
Netflix isn't around in that house.
the bakers are like Netflix, nah, son. we,
Nah,
we
son.
use VHS, son. Um,
Um,
that was kind of
but
weird
yeah,
though. Yeah,
it takes a lot from Outlast, and it's kind of like okay, fair enough. But at the same time, it just doesn't do enough to really warrant. Because I know that the ending would have been a bit more and be like, oh yeah, that's quite cool. But at the same time, I didn't get to the ending because I got bored. Because I'm like, I've had enough. I'm like, I've fought the same 4 enemies. That's another big flaw. Come on, 4 enemies. Right? You make a horror game. I mean, you make a horror game. People want to be scared. You fight the same thing more than once. People don't get scared. Or maybe twice or 3 times actually. Be a bit fair. You don't get scared. The mold, come on, come on. It's a good enemy, but this is the thing though, because at the same time you look at this game, it's hindered by VR. Because unless you have a VR, I don't think you can fully experience what it's worth. And I didn't play it without VR, but I was like, right, okay, I'm fighting the same thing again and again and again. And as well, this game takes another trait from Alien Isolation. We have the AI boss that can move around. You can't really kill him
yeah,
at certain points. And I think this is what I said to you on the podcast. This is a big problem because I thought Jack Baker was a fucking standout character. The Baker family is a great concept. They were greatly done development wise. Their story excellent. Liked them very much. Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe as well.
yeah,
As many critics pointed out as well. But at the same time, you look at it and you're like, right, okay, it kind of like it shuffles so quickly between them. It's like, yeah, because you left this house, Jack Baker's gone, and he won't disappear, he won't reappear until like later on. Like they kind of just like make it so like each area, and this is what I meant about linearity. Each area is specifically focused on a specific Baker family. Yeah, it should have been they could ambush you at any time, and the different Bakers as well. So like,
Yeah.
the AI is a bit more intelligent. Like, the Xenomorph, it could pop out of a chute anywhere in Alien Isolation. You're like, oh shit. And it's like,
Yeah.
right, now I need to get through this area to think. You could have done that with the Baker family. You could have like the little Baker come out, like just start swiping something from you.
Well, and dude, well, I actually agree with you because when we talked about Alien Isolation years ago, that was a big problem we had. Remember where after a while the alien got kind of like it was less scary and more like, oh, this asshole. But I think
Yeah,
that would have been a strength in this game because you have four members of the Baker family. So you would never have
and
been you wouldn't have been like, oh, this asshole again, because you would have been like,
yeah,
oh shit, it's Lucas this time, or oh crap, it's
exactly.
Marguerite. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah. But at the same time, that arsehole couldn't speak though. Jack Baker can speak, and he was quite funny. And
oh, he
every
was
interaction he had
hilarious.
with me was like, yeah, and every interaction he was so psychotically deranged. It worked volumes for Resident Evil 7. Like, do you know when you can rip you out the car and like start driving himself? It was hilarious. It was absolutely it had like a slapstick style horror effect to it, almost like
Yeah.
Evil Dead kind of thing. And you're like, okay, this is quite amusing. And I don't think it would have worn off too much. But at the same time, you have three unique villains there that could have like just moved around at different points. Like, rather than seeing Jack Baker walk down every corner, so Marguerite should have walked down them, and you could be like, and you could hear her like, do you like her lantern swinging to add that horror effect? Like,
Yeah.
oh shit, it adds the tension. That's what was missing. Because it's like, yeah, the doors are closing, the creaks and stuff like that. I was a little bit like, anted up a bit, but I didn't like get scared in the fact that if I heard that lantern, I'm like, shit, she's on her way.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I actually, it was funny, dude. I played the game on like a super easy difficulty because dude, it's how I play games at first.
yeah.
Because I want to experience the full story, so I didn't play it on the hardest difficulty, which I
Mhm.
heard is insane, by the way. But no, so yeah, whenever I would see her, dude, I would have moments where like her character was like right in front of me, but she was looking away, and I'd be like,
Well, yeah.
"Yeep!" and I would like hide behind something, like, "Oh shit!" and like I would just sit there, like, "Oh fuck, don't see me." Like, remember this is a spoiler, but remember when with Mia and her tape where you had to go outside and hide like where those trash cans are, and then there's
Yeah.
like a piece of like it's like an open door balcony kind of thing, but there's holes in it, so you see Marguerite looking around with
Looking
her
for, yeah.
fucking. Oh my god, that was so scary, man. So like even on the easiest difficulty, for me it was still a suspenseful thing at times. Like that was,
Yeah.
oh dude, moments like that were crazy.
I definitely agree with the fact that the horror, in the sense that it does play heavily towards being survival horror, and you can get damaged, and it's kind of like it makes you think strategically. So I give it props on that, and I love the little safe rooms as well, that you had as well, so you can have like a little bit of like a breather for a minute. But I just think like there was just so many like little things that I kind of like found like, but I mean, like, at the same time, I understand that they wanted to keep it a Resident Evil game, and Resident Evil 7 retains a lot of the traits from it, especially in the puzzles. The puzzles were, thank God, I really enjoyed them coming back. They weren't obscenely crazy as Shinji Mikami made them. It was like, find this
Yeah.
elephant head that's hidden under a box in the middle of like this remote like room with a serpent behind it. Where it was like, of like, okay, it's the 1990s, it's forgivable, but it was kind of like, it was just very obvious and straightforward, and it was good though. It was refreshing, because it's like when they said I think when you go into one of the rooms, it's like, this clock needs to be the same as the other clocks in the house,
Yeah.
or the main clock or something. It's like the puzzle's very simple, it's straightforward, and you had to figure it out. And it was kind of like, it was a good touch to it, that I like. I really enjoyed that part about Resident Evil 7. I thought it was great that they had the puzzles and things, because
Oh, the
at the same time
shadow
as you were getting,
things were so fun, man. Do you remember that?
yeah, yeah, like that's what I mean. Like, it was those kind of like little things where you're like, oh yeah, it's kind of like, at the same time you need to be aware of what's going on, but it was a good part of bringing back that Resident Evil 7 signature.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just like that thing where it's like, I was rushing so much around different places, and then like the upgrade system was pretty like meh. The antique coins were like, and then it was just like, do you like little things? And same with, so I don't feel like, this is the thing. I won't go into story spoiler, but this is a big issue which Capcom faces with Resident Evil, because over the many years they have really, really blemished it, because they look at things and they think it's cool to add it in. Resident Evil Revelations, I don't care how much you argue with it, and Jim Sterling has a fantastic video on it, by the way. He bashes it for the fact that it was episodic because it's not consistent. It's ridiculous. I think in one of the Resident Evil Revelations episodes, I think you played it. Is it one of them where you just walk around with Barry trying to figure a puzzle out and it ends?
In which one? Revelations 2?
The episodic one.
Fuck, man, what happened in that game? It's a very forgettable game, dude.
Well, I think that kind of speaks volumes for itself. I
Yeah,
think
it was. The puzzles definitely were shit. Like in that game, they were
well,
not like. I think yeah, dude. You did just walk around and explore things, find an item, and you're like, oh, it was like fetch questy, like how you were saying that you
yeah.
just had to go back and
I,
put it in somewhere.
I remember someone saying it to me, and I remember reading somewhere about that was like one of the episodes because like that's diabolical a little bit. That's an episode, but that kind of says it a lot about what they're doing. And the same with this, they put a choice scenario in at a certain point in the game, and you're like, why is this here? And at the same time, we've ripped into Telltale quite a lot for illusion of choice, and I understand at the same time, gaming is restricted to a certain amount of like what you can actually change,
Yeah,
but this is kind of a little bit unforgivable because when you do it and you look at the other option, it really doesn't change much. It's like, what? And I understand when you said it as well. I kind of respect it a bit more because I understood from a Resident Evil fan's perspective, they were doing that thing where they were retaining some features from the original game. Like, you had the choice kind of thing, like the little changes. But this one made no sense. And
yeah,
you look at it, you're like, why is this even here? A great example of doing it is Metal Gear Solid 1. Fantastic. You save Meryl, you let her die, and it has a little change towards the ending. The story is still complete, but it was that little like, oh wow, that's quite cool. Like little feature, little touch, and obviously well thought out. This isn't well thought out. And I'm like, what? I'm like, it's ridiculous. It's kind of like, I don't get why you'd put it in there. It was like almost like the developers like, hey, let's just put this sort of choice system in because it would be quite
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it was completely. You know what it reminded me of, dude? It kind of was like a slightly more expanded version of what Naughty Dog did with Uncharted 4. Remember how there's like times where you could like pick what you wanted Nathan to say, and it was like, and then they forgot about it halfway through, and it stopped there, and you're like, why was that there? That was weird. I feel like that's kind of a more expanded version in RE7 where
Yeah.
you're like, I mean,
See,
okay, yeah, I did pick Zoe or whatever, or Mia or whatever, and like the outcome happened, but god damn, that was kind of stupid.
it's
It was weird. It was like an artificial
they
replayability kind of thing. It was weird.
yeah, they do it in the DLC as well, the Marguerite tape. I remember seeing
Yeah,
that in the video when I watched it, and it's just like, why is this? It just doesn't really add anything. Like, I mean, I know MGS5 gets bashed quite a lot for Venom Snake not talking, but if you gave him choices to talk, it's just, I don't, it's such a weird, like, feature or whatever you want to call it for gaming. Like, unless it really justifies it, then there's no point in having it in there. And I think this is what the problem with what Resident Evil 7 does. It and I criticize it for fact being quite linear, but at the same time, it unnecessarily adds stuff that doesn't make it linear, and just like stuff that doesn't necessarily have to be in the game, and like just there was just a problem with it. It kind of like niggled me the wrong way because I'm like, that was just ridiculous. If I played that, if that's the point, I stopped as well. And had I chose the other option, I think I definitely would have like just been like, I'm done. I wouldn't even gone to the ship that I got them to. Um, but it's just like you look at it and like I'm like, okay, but I mean, like it's a good starting point. But where do you go from this? Do you continue with VR? Do you not continue with VR? Do you really like change the entire like complexion of the game? You very much first person. See, I don't understand why it's not third person either. Why couldn't you just put a Fallout mechanic in it?
I, you know what, dude? That would have made more sense to make it like a Fallout kind of thing. Well, I don't know, dude, because in a way, I actually prefer first person because I really I was tired of playing Resident Evil with the like third person over the shoulder kind of thing. That's just a personal preference for me. So doing first person just felt like a breath of fresh air. I think they could have. I think one reason they didn't was they wanted it to be. It could have been the VR thing, right? Where they were like, well, we
Yeah.
could have made it, but then maybe if you do VR, we would have to lock out third person. And I think the last thing that a game wants to advertise is like, you can only do certain things in VR, like that. That's weird to put on the box, or not to put on the box, but when you start the game, it might make VR players feel gypped a little bit. Like, oh, well, fuck
Hmm.
this. I want to play in third person, so they take off the headset. So I think that might be the thing. I really think that was the whole thing, man. That they were like, it's VR, so we had to make it first person. Um, I don't know if RE8 should keep being first person. I don't know. That's weird because this is kind
I
of like a
don't think it
new.
should.
I
It's
feel
very
like
restrictive. It's
I
very restrictive.
Because yeah, dude, it's weird because I feel RE7 like I consider Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, Code Veronica, the remake, and Zero to be almost like volume 1 of Resident Evil, where it was like third person, static camera angles, like survival horror for the most part, Resident Evil. Then
Hmm.
RE4, 5, 6, and the two Revelation games, I kind of consider that like volume 2, where
Yeah.
it had horror elements, but it was definitely a lot more actiony. And you had the camera over the shoulder, and it was more of like a third person kind of thing rather than fixed camera angles. So RE7 is kind of like the beginning of Volume 3 in a way, where it's like, okay, you're in first person, you're doing this and this. I think they could do what you just suggested, like a Fallout kind of thing. They could do that. They could make RE8. Maybe if I mean, I think VR is going to die, to be honest. So
Yeah, it's not it's
yeah,
definitely like
it's going nowhere. So I think by the time RE8 comes out, VR
well,
will be dead.
sorry, well, sorry, just to be a bit critical, Sony know about things not going anywhere. Like the PS Vita is an example of like things not going
Dude,
anywhere. But
PlayStation TV. Everyone forgot about that.
oh
I
my God, and the
remember that.
PSP Go and just like
Everything.
everything else. Like I don't even start. Like, please let's not start this. It's like I don't really want to.
But no, my point is they could, man. They could do RE8 and make it like it's first person so they can maintain that same feel that the 7 had, but you could also switch it to third. I think that'd probably be the best choice to do if they made an RE8. Just to like,
Yeah,
people have the option and like Battlefront. I mean Star Wars Battlefront. Yeah, how like, remember dude, like I preferred first person and you were like, "Nah, man, third person." Like it was kind of like that kind
yeah,
of thing. Like
I
do
like that
that. Yeah, do that. It kind of
exactly.
it,
That
it makes everyone happy.
it works. It works for these games as well. It specifically works for these games because as we've just shown, two people have different tastes towards it. I
Yeah.
would have played that entire thing third person because I would have thought it would be more scary that I can see the little things around me. And you obviously might have played a bit more first person. It's just one of those where it's preference and it gives you a good option to it. I think the next one really needs to hammer down the story and know where the angle is. Because Resident Evil, for all intents and purposes, its story has never really been that good, has it?
No.
It's got good characters,
Great
good universe and
atmosphere.
ideas.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, its story is just that. And I'm not like, okay, and I'll give you this example of the opening when Ethan, like, that chainsaw thing that you told me about. If that happened later in the game, I wouldn't care. I wish it would have gone through his head and like just got rid of him. Because like I'm just like it was so boring. And it's like I don't care because it was so split. Clancy's story, Mia's story, Ethan's story, Baker family, Bo. Do you know what it's like? Oh, and you just like you need time just to process it. It's a game. Keep it very, when you do something like this and you tell a story, especially in horror, bang, straight to the point. Duh, 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 duh. Like you don't need to get people dwindling too long. Um, but yeah, that's me. I just wanted to talk about this because I thought it was a good way to carry on with your review. Because I like a
Oh
lot of what you
yeah.
said in review, but at the same time, there was just like a bit more to talk about what can Resident Evil 7 do to like really upgrade now from this point onwards. Like for me, intents purposes, it's very linear. It's a very linear game. It's very straightforward in most purposes, and for its like a good way to start off as a reboot, whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
It's a good starting point, but they really need to think about taking it to the next level of 8. And I don't mean take it to the next level as in 6. It needs to be a bit like 4 fused with other styles. I know you hate 4, which is going to be a podcast. We'll do a podcast where we dedicate that to like an hour
Oh,
discussion.
hell yes.
Um, but I'm gonna leave that there where I'm here.
No, yeah. I think we've kind of reached the I think the topic's over. I mean, dude, we have that's why I love this idea of us doing these topics. And I hope you guys did too. This kind of show format, because this is a perfect example of like we had like two different views on this game, but at the same time we agreed on a lot of stuff. So you see, did at any point did we ignore each other and go find papers to look at? No, because we have no papers. I told you guys. Anyway, that's such a stupid joke. I'm sorry. Anyway, but all right, guys. I think we're gonna cut it off here. And mosey on out of the podcast world. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys can follow us on Twitter at Podcast Go, and of course we're on YouTube, also Podcast Go. I've been we try to post these as often as we can. I know when we were on a hiatus since December, I had been posting a lot of kind of like spin-off things. So if you guys want to check out that Resident Evil 7 review I did, it's up there. I did a Wii eulogy the day before Switch came out or something like that. That's up there as well. And I did this cool thing. I'm doing it's called Chris's Kickstarter trilogy. I backed up 3 Kickstarter games. The first one was Ukulele. So I posted my. It's not really a review. It's more like what did I think as a Kickstarter backer. So that's up there as well. So you guys can check that out. And we're gonna keep trying to put as much stuff as we can. Like we love doing this, man. This is so fun. And dude, it was so awesome to talk to you again, Adnan. It's been a while, man.
Always a pleasure, Chris. Always a pleasure.
All right, guys. Well,
I
thank you.
was so narcissistic saying that. So I was like, yeah, you should talk to me. You should talk to me.
But thank you guys so much for listening, and yeah, we'll be back whenever we can. Definitely, we'll have something next month. I know that. All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening. Take care.
See you later, guys.